My name is Guy Anderson. I'm the Senior Principal Analyst, Aerospace and Defence within IHS. Offset is any form of compensation to counter the burden of a large military or infrastructure project on the buying government. And offset, it can take many forms. It can be direct, which means that the buying country wants a part in the program they're buying into. They want to make something, they want to help develop it, or it can be indirect. And in that case, the sky is the limit. We've seen projects linked to defence trade over the last few years that have included the development of fish farms, investment in hotels and tourism, the marketing of wine, right up to major technology transfer and even training and education. Well, offset is increasingly the deciding factor in defence trade, particularly as manufacturers in many cases achieve parity with each other. The equipment is good, that can be a given. The deciding factor in trade is the package that comes with it, the offset package. Now, over the last decades at IHS, we've seen 23 countries apply formal offset protocols to demand offset. Often this is enshrined in law when they buy defence equipment. And we estimate that 80 countries worldwide apply some form of offset demands. And we believe that over the next decade, at least $100 billion of additional obligations are going to come on stream. Now, indirect offset can of course be incredibly broad. It can involve commercial projects, it can involve other military projects, it can involve export facilitation, the marketing of a country's goods elsewhere in the world. It can involve technology transfer. That could be participating with research establishments in the buyer's country, sending blueprints, or in some ways providing intellectual property. We've also seen training and education where nationals of the buyer's country could be sent back to the supplier's country to be trained and educated at their facilities. In extreme cases, we've even seen a man go into space as a result of an offset. The first Malaysian astronaut, that was a result entirely of an offset project involving Russia. Well, countries insist on offset for a number of reasons. Some of them aren't that obvious. Now, to get something extra with a purchase is a given. Of course, countries want to do that. But offsets can ease balance of trade issues. Now, if a country buys billions of dollars worth of military equipment from a country, that shifts the balance of trade. Then there's foreign currency outflows, and it can make an impact on an economy if you have to shift billions of dollars out of your country. Now, there's also the issue of sovereign debt. We've seen a number of countries who actually use the penalties attached to offset obligations to borrow against on the international market. So an offset does provide a form of international collateral. And then there's political leverage. It can be difficult for a defence minister to argue that, particularly in times of austerity, that his department should get the major spending packages, that they should buy aircraft perhaps instead of schools and hospitals. Now, with offset, you can have both. A defence minister can make the case that we can buy $1 billion worth of aircraft, and among the offset projects, we could have a healthcare IT infrastructure system, we could have schools built, or we could have hospitals built. So it makes it very easy for defence ministers and defence departments to make the case for defence purchases. Well, with offset, it's often said it is more of an art than a science. Now, a good offset project is almost a thing of beauty. A lot of countries will impose offset obligations of perhaps 100% or more of the contract value. We've seen 400% in some cases. Now, in the face of it, this should be a recipe for bankruptcy. The supplier, if they have a $1 billion contract and they need to get $4 billion into the country, it seems almost impossible. So this is where the effect of multipliers and input and output credits come in. Now, most countries that apply offset policies will have priority areas that they really want the investment to go in. So they'll attach multipliers for those. So it could be a case that every dollar invested in, say, healthcare or in export facilitation is checked off at $4 or even $10 against the final obligation. Now, there's also the effect of input credits and output credits. So it might be that a defense company will invest $10 million, say, in the development of a consumer goods factory in a given country. Now, if this is an output-based project, it could be that over 5 years, this factory will produce economic value of maybe $100 million or $200 million, the original investment of $10 million. And it's on the output that they are credited against. So this way, it's quite possible to meet an offset obligation of $1 billion with perhaps an investment of between $10 million and $100 million.